What is up, everybody? This is Alex from IGTV. I'm talking about M3GAN 2.0, the sequel to the famous M3GAN 1.0, I guess. God, where do you start with this one? M3GAN 1, I thought was pretty dull. Just classic Blumhouse affair, where they might have kind of a interesting concept or something campy and silly and funny about it. Like if I see James Wan attached to something, he's kind of all over the place, but he's got an energy. He brings something unique to the projects he chooses, but he's not directing, unfortunately. Maybe that was what this film needed, was a director like that, because tell me in the comments a film sequel that has shifted genre in such an extreme way with such confidence, misplaced confidence, I would say, than M3GAN 2. Like this first movie, let's look at the tags of it. Artificial intelligence, cyber thriller, dark comedy, slasher horror, sci-fi thriller. Then if we go to 2, artificial intelligence, cyber thriller, martial arts, slasher horror, action horror, sci-fi thriller. Big emphasis on action. I would pretty much argue that this is barely a horror film. And not like a campy horror like a Sam Raimi type thing. Maybe that's what it wants to be, like a comedy horror. I like comedy horror, it can be fun. You know, this might be the best Marvel movie in years. This, more than anything, feels like a Marvel movie. It's completely bizarre. It feels like a Marvel movie and a Mission Impossible movie smashed together with M3GAN as the main character. And if you don't believe me, I'm pretty sure this was in the trailer, but like, this is the kind of stuff that is happening in this movie. You know, squirrel suit, epic action scenes with M3GAN. Because I kind of thought the appeal of this character was the like Chucky quality combined with the campy TikTok dances that went viral in 2022, which is a long time ago now. Trying to figure out their angle is quite confusing. I found in the trivia that Jason Blum basically admitted that they thought M3GAN was like Superman, and that's a quote from him, a direct quote. I'm actually going to listen to part of this episode in a separate video and hear it from the horse's mouth, but what? This seems like something that would be funny, like riffing in a writer's room or like a, you know, like an initial pitch meeting or something, but then quickly would be filtered through the, oh, this is like a stupid idea. Because one of the big things is that this utterly bombed. This misplaced confidence in this IP with one film behind it, as if, yeah, the Superman comparison is just so strange. You can see a budget of $25 million, which for an action movie is pretty modest, to be honest. But it did not work out as far as gross. This is a huge bomb. Why they released this in June is very misguided. If we look at the original, yeah, that tiny $12 million budget, nearly grossing $200 million, which is normally what Blumhouse do. That's what they've made their name on. It's these cheap, shitty horror movies where most of the effort's put into the advertising to kind of trick you into going. And honestly, this should kind of be the model as far as I'm concerned. And the movies don't have to be this shitty, but yeah, you'll notice that January was when the first film was released. You know, FU it's January. It kind of came out of nowhere. There was something a bit more natural about the way it gained virality at that time. Whereas the attempts at it here are frankly embarrassing. And while I made the Marvel comparison, the Marvel film I was most reminded of is actually Age of Ultron, with the like autonomous AI stuff going on and like these big dumb action scenes. Like not only do we have these squirrel suit action scenes, but we're talking car chases, these big martial arts scenes, the heist action stuff. That's what this is connected to. I guess kind of spoilers, but there's nothing really to spoil. The horror roots are mostly gone. There are a couple moments of sort of puppetry, creepy looking, I want to say body horror, but it's not a body, it's like a robot. That's okay. They do these little tweaks, like they kind of make her more of a good guy, which she's supposed to be the scary Chucky type thing in the original. Now she's got like the inhibitor chip that means that she can't kill people for the majority of the movie. And there's just this overbearing feeling to so many of the set pieces and scenes that clearly seem designed. You can imagine like the creative team being like, this is going to be so iconic. I can't wait for this to be a TikTok trend type thing. There's so many scenes that read that way. They like K-pop her up at certain points. She's singing like Kate Bush as like a whole comedic set piece. They really lean into the comedy, and that's reflected in the cast especially. Like if we look at the cast from the first movie, there are some more comedic actors in there. Like this dude was in Unfrosted, that famous awesome comedy. But if we go to the second movie, the absolute tripling down of it includes people like Jermaine Clement, and a notably strange performance from this dude, Aristotle, who I hadn't seen in anything before, but looking at his credits, he's, in Silicon Valley, SNL, like primarily a comedic actor. I found like a clip of him ironically playing a robot in a skit.
Look at my body, look at my face, look at my vacation.
Maybe he should have played a robot, because his attempts to try and come across like a human were very strange. His comedic performance was all over the place to me. He had this really flat delivery, but in a way that was more like, hi, you're not like enunciating your words, I can barely tell what you're saying. And his name in the film is Christian, and all the other characters, when they address him, they don't say Christian, they say Christian. So it sounds like they're saying Christian every time they address him, and it's super distracting. They do that throughout the entire movie until like the last scene where they're in court or whatever, and the main character says Christian. It's like, oh, so you do know how to say it, but you just, is this some kind of weird in-joke? Like, is Christian like part of this somehow? But yeah, everyone gives like a horrendous performance. There's nothing really for them to work with as far as like dialogue, or it's so aloof, it's not really trying to scare you, it's way more trying to make you laugh, or I guess show off things that are cool. It almost seemed like it was trying to be like an Upgrade, if you remember that movie, like an Upgrade or a Malignant, like another James Wan movie. But there's something a lot more charming about James Wan's style of like action direction. He's weirdly good at horror and action, not so much a comedy. Maybe the comedy that comes from the action. Like if we look at some example James Wan. I didn't know he was Australian. That's cool. Because this is M3GAN 2 is a New Zealand production, I think. Another mention of New Zealand. Shout out New Zealand. My home. Yeah, so this is a guy that can direct the first Saw, The Conjuring, Insidious, but then also like a Fast and Furious movie and Aquaman. And stuff like that, which I think is really funny. And shout out to Malignant. Pretty sure that bombed, but has one of the most insane twists that I won't spoil. But when you get to the point where it just kind of morphs into a Mission Impossible movie, you're just kind of like, what are we doing here? Especially because of the runtime, like 2 hours. What are we doing for a Blumhouse horror movie? Well, I think I'd actually rather rewatch this one than the first one again. I just found the first one so sort of boring. This was more fascinating to me, just in the sense of like watching money burn and like the novelty of just such a bad, terrible idea coming to screen. I think for me, instead of hiring comedic actors, it would have been a lot funnier if they had like serious actors playing it really straight and dry instead of basically mugging the camera like they're comedians, like they're in an SNL skit. Like that's too much for me. It kind of ruins the comedic tone for me. But obviously comedy's quite subjective. I'm quite picky with the comedy in my movies. But this, speaking of like Age of Ultron and Marvel stuff, the comedy's kind of written exactly like a Marvel movie. The snark, the way M3GAN talks back and quips all over the place is very similar to a Marvel movie. So as you can imagine, super tired. I don't think I was ever laughing in earnest. I was only ever laughing at the film because of the strange choices that they made. And all of this highlighting on these kind of sacred characters that like in a horror movie, they refuse to kill off, and just this lame editing around some of the violence. And it's like, well, maybe if that was something they leaned into with the fact that it's supposed to be like a horror concept, if there was some like funny gore, over-the-top violence or something like that, but they kind of edit around it like they would in a more traditional, broad action movie. I just thought this was ridiculously stupid, a bad concept, and just a strange choice for a second movie. Maybe if you did this as the third one, once you'd like established something, that there was some pattern of success with this like character, but no one went out to see it. I don't know why they genre shift to action first. Maybe they should have tried to do more of a comedy, self-aware comedy for the second one instead of going this hard. I almost respect it, but I'm never gonna see this again. This was stupid and dumb and boring, and I wound up giving it 1 star. Let me know what you think. Did M3GAN 2.0 work for you? Because it didn't for me. See you next time. Bye.